Welcome back to Wine Time Mysteries, where true crime and the unexplained collide. I'm Ashley, and I'll be your host for today's episode, joined by the irreplaceable Joey Voodoo. And today we'll be uncovering the horrifying case of Marcus Volke. A seemingly ordinary man shocked the world with an unthinkable crime in the tranquil city of Brisbane, Australia. What began as a quiet relationship ended in a horrifying tragedy, unraveling a tale of deception and unimaginable acts. How did a man who appeared so unassuming harbour such dark secrets? And what led to the gruesome discovery that stunned even seasoned investigators? If you enjoy listening to true crime stories and tales that send shivers down your spine, subscribe, rate, and review us on your favourite podcast platform. Your support helps keep the show going and brings you more stories that challenge reality. Be sure to check out our links at linktree/Winetime Mysteries. In 2014, Marcus Volke, a 28-year-old chef from Geelong, was living in Brisbane, Australia with his wife Mayang Preseto, a 27-year-old Indonesian trans woman. The couple had met in 2013 and married later that year in Denmark.
Oh, that's cute.
Their relationship became the subject of much speculation, with multiple reports suggesting it was transactional. Mayang worked as a high-profile sex worker, advertising herself online as a transgender escort, catering to an international clientele. She earned a substantial income, which not only supported her own lifestyle, but also provided financial assistance to her family in Indonesia. Her financial independence stood in stark contrast to Marcus's situation. He struggled with mounting debt, often resorting to taking out loans to pay off other loans. Reports suggested that Mayang assisted Marcus in managing his debts, while he in turn supported her efforts to secure an Australian visa. That's where the transactional side of the relationship. So she helps with his debt, he helps getting her a visa. Mayang was described by friends and family as vibrant, caring, and generous. Known for her outgoing personality, she was deeply committed to supporting her family. Confident and ambitious, she embraced her identity and lived unapologetically.
Good.
At the time, Marcus worked as a chef at a restaurant in Bulimba. However, a coroner's inquest later revealed that he had also worked or was working as a male escort, which was reportedly how he and Mayang first met.
So hold on, he was an escort too? They're both escorts? They joined forces.
They joined forces. During 2013 and 2014, the couple travelled across Asia and Europe, working within the sex industry.
Is that legal?
I don't know.
Would they...
They were just like escorts around the world.
Yeah, but only because I don't know, but like I kind of feel like if you came here, you would need like a working holiday visa, right? Or something.
Yeah,
I don't know if you could, because you were operating as your own person, that's an ABN. I don't know how that all works. Oh, that's very... any listeners, if you know how that works, the legality around all that stuff, please drop us I'm too excited.
Yeah.
Please drop us a line and let us know, because I, for one, would like to know how that works. Thank you.
Especially 2013 and 2014, whereas nowadays we've got OnlyFans, people doing sex work, all that kind of stuff.
But remember, Bonnie Blue got cancelled from coming into the country because her idea was to sleep with all of the kids at schoolies.
Yeah.
And film it and monetize it and make money off it.
See ya. Wouldn't want to be ya.
I wouldn't mind her bank account, but...
Yeah. Marcus's parents, who lived in Victoria, believed he was working as a chef on cruise ships while travelling the world. They were unaware of the specifics of his relationship with Mayang and assumed the couple had met during this time at sea. Described as withdrawn and private, Marcus rarely shared personal details, especially with his family. Despite his reserved nature, he was regarded as intelligent and health conscious. He abstained from smoking and drinking, had extensive knowledge of nutrition and fitness, and often turned to naturopathic treatments for ongoing health issues.
Right. Could that also be why he spent time like in Asia, Southeast Asia and stuff? Because I know a lot of people who are into like meditation and health and yoga and that tend to travel to those parts of the world.
Yeah, that could be. Yeah, that sounds
he's doing homeopathic stuff. It kind of makes sense.
Sounds very plausible. Online, he frequently engaged in discussions about health-related topics. There was no prior indication of violence or abusive behaviour in his previous relationships. However, Marcus appeared to experience embarrassment and discomfort regarding his past work as an escort and his relationship with Mayang, especially when it came to his family knowing the truth.
Sounds like he's an insecure little so-and-so.
Very much so. Emails uncovered between Marcus and a former partner provided further insight into the dynamics of his marriage with Mayang. He referred to their marriage as a business arrangement, expressing a desire to leave escort work and pursue a career as a dog breeder. These emails confirmed that Mayang was helping him pay off his debts and that Marcus had sponsored her visa to remain in Australia. The emails also suggested a volatile relationship. Mayang had reportedly threatened to disclose details of their arrangement to Marcus's family if he failed to fulfill his part of the agreement or tried to leave her. She monitored his social media activity and email accounts and was unhappy that he maintained contact with his former partner. By September 2014, Marcus and Mayang returned from Bali to settle in Brisbane, Australia.
Oh, locals.
They met with the building manager of a property in Tenerife and were described as soft-spoken during the interaction.
Okay. You may know this about me. Tenerife is my most favourite area in Brisbane. When I used to live in Hamilton, I used to walk up there every single night through Tenerife because people in Tenerife, I'm sorry, you're rich. And I would walk up along Newstead onto like the borders of the valley and then all the way back home again. And I loved it, and I would do that daily. It was beautiful.
I'll give you the street name once we're done. The couple requested to lease a unit immediately, explaining that they were living in short-term accommodation and needed a dog-friendly home. They signed a rental agreement for a ground floor, one-bedroom unit with a courtyard. The lease was for 6 months and they moved in on September 13th, 2014. Investigation material confirmed that Mayang and Marcus were using the apartment to conduct their escort work, and Mayang was actively advertising sexual service on Tinder up until the evening of October 2nd, 2014. On the afternoon of October 2nd, 2014, Marcus received a call from Mayang while he was at their apartment with a client. Mayang informed him that she was on her way home with a client of her own. During these interactions, Marcus would often refer to Mayang as his flatmate.
There's one room.
Yeah, one room.
My flatmate.
That we share a bedroom together. Shortly after leaving the apartment, Marcus received another phone call from Mayang. According to Marcus's client, he overheard Mayang screaming at Marcus on the phone, and the conversation was described as stilted and clinical. The client noted that Marcus's demeanour changed immediately upon answering the call, becoming withdrawn and less open. Marcus ultimately ended the session, telling his client that he needed to return home to help his flatmate clean the dogs. The client later told police that there was 5 small dogs in the apartment, kept in a small enclosure.
Oh, yuck.
He described the unit as having a strong odour, as the dogs had soiled the carpet.
Oh, I hate that. If you're not equipped to take care of an animal, don't get one.
Yeah.
Especially 5.
Yeah. I don't know if that was like his breeding side hustle or... I don't know. Between 11:30 p.m. and midnight that evening, neighbours overheard a heated argument coming from Marcus and Mayang's apartment. The dispute, which lasted 30 to 40 minutes, escalated to the point where Mayang could be heard screaming. One witness described seeing Marcus, I don't know how this, let me just paint the picture. One witness described seeing Marcus sitting on the couch, staring blankly ahead and not reacting to Mayang's outbursts. You're watching them?
Yeah.
Like how, where, like were things open? Like that's a bit creepy for me.
But also it may depend on what like the actual layout was. Like the layout of the apartments, and was this an apartment building across from like beside or whatever that could see in?
I think
like
so.
Directly across.
So maybe it was from like the
balcony lounge sort of
the outdoor
area.
Yeah, because you wouldn't be able to see it from the front, surely.
Unless it was
windows
ground
and
floor.
stuff. Yeah.
So maybe.
I don't know. I thought it was creepy. She was reportedly yelling phrases such as "F you," "You're stupid," and "I can't believe you." Eventually, the argument ceased. At around 1:30 a.m, the same neighbour was awakened by another argument coming from the unit. This time the confrontation was quieter and Marcus's voice could not be heard at all. The argument lasted for approximately 30 minutes, after which no further noise was reported from the apartment in the following hours or days. On the morning of October 3rd, the building manager began to notice a foul smell emanating from the hallway outside Marcus and Mayang's apartment. Over the course of the day, as she walked past the unit to access the lifts, she confirmed the odour was coming from their apartment. The smell became so bad that she placed an air freshener in the hallway.
You don't think maybe to knock on the door?
What's going on?
Maybe check it out. Because you know where the smell's coming from. You literally put an air freshener in the hallway, probably near the door.
Yeah. By 6 p.m. that evening, Marcus was seen at a supermarket in Newstead, purchasing gloves, bleach, a scrubbing brush, garbage bags, wipes, and laundry soaker. He then took a taxi to the Royal Brisbane Women's Hospital, where the driver noticed Marcus wrapping one of his fingers with a piece of cloth. Marcus claimed he had cut his hand deeply while slicing onions.
Onions.
Yeah, sure. Hospital records, however, indicated a different story. Marcus told medical staff that he had sustained the injury during a fight with his girlfriend earlier that day, around 5 p.m. He stated that she had been holding a large chef's knife, which he grabbed to prevent further escalation. He claimed Mayang had pulled the knife from his dominant left hand, causing the deep wound. Records also noted that Marcus required surgery to repair severed tendons in his hand. So it's pretty deep. Early on October 4th, the building manager saw Marcus outside the apartment and noticed his bandaged hand. Marcus told her he required surgery for the injury. She also observed the odour coming from the unit had worsened. By 2 p.m, she sent Marcus a text message urging him to address the smell. At approximately 12:15 p.m, Marcus visited a store in the city and purchased a meat cleaver. Later, around 3:30 p.m, the building manager noticed a burning smell coming from the unit. She knocked on the door and Marcus, who appeared to have just arrived home, explained the odour by saying he had left a pot of stock on the stove which had burnt dry. At 6:18 p.m, Marcus contacted an emergency electrician named Bradley, reporting that the power to his unit had gone out. When Bradley arrived, Marcus told him that his psycho ex-girlfriend had attacked him with a knife, resulting in the injury to his hand. Inside the apartment, Marcus apologised for the strong smell, claiming he was cooking pig's broth.
He's blaming everything on food.
Yeah.
He's just saying, I can't cook.
Yeah, and he's a chef. The electrician required access to the main switchboard, prompting the building manager to assist. They met in the foyer around 8:15 p.m, where Marcus reiterated that a pot of stock had overflowed, causing the power outage. When they returned to the unit, the building manager attempted to enter the apartment, but Marcus insisted she provide 7 days' notice. Like, you can't come in here unless you give me notice.
It doesn't even have to be 7 days. I think it's like 48 hours.
Oh, is it? Would not know anymore.
At least I think that, I don't know.
Yeah. She explained that due to the electrical issue and potential safety concerns, she had the right to enter immediately. So I don't know what the difference is as well if you've got, like, I guess it's like a building manager on-site manager or something. I don't know. Upon entering, she immediately noticed blood and damage throughout the unit. Her husband, who had accompanied her, took photographs of the scene. Marcus claimed the blood on the carpet was from his hand injury. Concerned, the building manager contacted the police.
Yeah, good.
Requesting a welfare check. Police received the call at approximately 9 p.m, categorising it as a routine welfare check. On October 4th, approximately 9:10 p.m, a senior constable and constable from the Fortitude Valley Police Station arrived at Marcus's apartment. Initially, they spoke with the building manager before proceeding to the unit where they encountered Marcus outside the front door in the hallway. The officers asked Marcus where Mayang was. He claimed they had argued and she had run away and not returned. Marcus speculated that Mayang might have returned to Indonesia, adding that she was in Australia on a visitor visa while applying for a partner visa.
They'd better check that.
So I guess that's also like maybe the escort work was under the books or...
Probably.
Yeah, because if you're here on a visitor visa instead of a...
But I also don't think she was on a visiting visa.
Yeah, she could have been, yeah, like you said, yeah. When the officers informed Marcus of their intent to enter the apartment without a warrant due to the reports of blood and the unusual odour coming from inside, Marcus responded that Mayang was obviously not in there. He added that the building manager had already entered and looked inside. He requested permission to secure his dogs, which were loose inside the unit, and the officers allowed him to do so. Both officers later noted a strong odour emanating from the apartment. While familiar with the smell of decomposition, they stated that this odour was not consistent with that of a decomposing body. Marcus re-entered the unit and body camera footage showed him quickly locking the door behind him. The senior constable noted that while Marcus's demeanour changed when told the officers intended to enter, he appeared to be giving an honest account of events while speaking in the hallway. So like especially around the dogs, and I think during the inquest the officers were like, well, we don't know what kind of dogs they were, you know, we kind of just would rather them be locked up before we walk into whatever this is. As the officers waited outside, they reported hearing metallic sounds from inside the apartment, which they assumed were coming from the dog enclosure. Shortly after, they were informed that Marcus had fled the unit, exiting through the rear and jumping over a fence. A search for Marcus was immediately launched, with police dog squads and additional officers called to assist.
Like, as if that doesn't make you look more guilty.
I know, doing a runner. When officers entered the apartment, they were confronted with a gruesome scene. Inside a large garbage bag in the washing machine, they discovered human remains. A metal pot was found on the kitchen floor containing liquid with toes protruding from it. At first, the officers thought it might be a sick prank, but upon noticing a large pool of fresh blood on the kitchen floor, they realised the remains were human.
Oh my God, think that apartment's still there. People live somewhere that someone was murdered and disembodied. That is wild.
The officers exited the apartment and secured the crime scene.
Oh, that just makes you think you don't know what's happened anywhere you live. Though don't they have to disclose that? Isn't there, if there's something that happened in the last 10 years or something that
I don't know for renting though.
Maybe just for buying?
Maybe just for purchasing.
Oh, that's gross.
Because I'm pretty sure I saw this, apartments here, up for rent at that location. So I don't know if it was, well, obviously the room's still there, so yeah. Meanwhile, the search for Marcus continued. At around 9:51 p.m, a police dog named Zuma was deployed and quickly picked up a track.
That's so cute.
I like that the dog's name was in the coroner's inquest. I was like, yes, thank you, putting that in. The scent led through an underground car park and up a ramp to a closed door, then out onto Dath Street, which was 2 streets away from the apartment. Zuma entered a small room containing industrial bins, strongly indicating the first bin on the right. Inside the bin, officers found Marcus Volke. He was unresponsive with significant injuries to his neck and wrists. A 35cm kitchen knife was also recovered in the bin. Marcus was declared deceased at 10:18 p.m. A full autopsy revealed that a wound on the right side of Marcus's neck had partially severed the internal jugular vein, causing an air embolism that led to his death. And I was like, what is an air embolism? It's where the air gets in and creates a bubble so that they can't breathe. He had multiple cuts on both forearms and injuries to his hands, along with bruises and abrasions on his upper and lower limbs were noted. Some of these injuries were determined to be several hours or days old, suggesting they could have been sustained during an altercation or self-inflicted with a sharp object. So some of the bruising, it's did they get into a physical fight? Don't really know. On October 7th, 2014, a full internal autopsy was conducted on Mayang Presetto. Her body had been dismembered post-mortem, divided into portions. The torso was separated into 3 parts: head and upper neck, lower neck and upper torso without limbs, and lower torso without limbs. Bones and tissue fragments from the limbs were also present, softened and splintered, consistent with attempts to break them down.
Sorry, I was going to say, and he's a chef, which means he probably knows how to cut meat, and because he was probably doing that with like pigs.
Yeah, and I think he was kind of like a chef all his life as well, so it's like he would have,
Rough.
The autopsy determined that the body was dismembered after death due to the absence of hemorrhaging. Numerous superficial incision wounds were found, along with a large horizontal incision across the back of the chest, indicating an attempted division of the torso. Multiple weapons had been used during the dismemberment. The fatal injury was identified as a stab wound to the front of the neck. Additional stab wounds were found on the right cheek and the back of the head, along with numerous bruises on the head and neck. It was concluded that the facial stab wounds were inflicted with significant force after death. So it just sounds like rage-fueled. Yeah, and it's always like the quiet
It sounds like he snapped, but that does not excuse it. He literally took someone's life.
Yeah, but it was, horrific. Attempts to dispose of the body had been made by cooking and dissolving the remains. The scene evidence and autopsy results painted a horrifying picture of the events that unfolded in the apartment. Mayang Presetto was last seen alive in the unit she shared with Marcus early on October 3rd, 2014. The inquest stated that Marcus killed Mayang early on the morning of October 3rd by repeatedly stabbing her following an argument. Marcus suffered injuries to his hand either during this argument or in his attempts to dismember her. During the 3rd and 4th of October, he tried to dissolve her remains using chemicals, including caustic soda heated on a stovetop. Forensics found that there were drag marks and footprints in blood, along with a large blood stain on the carpet, and blood splatter covering most of the room wall. DNA indicated that this was the blood of Mayang. The inquest concluded that Marcus died from his own actions after inflicting multiple stab wounds to his neck whilst in the industrial bin. The coroner reported that there were no grounds for criticism of the police who initially attended the scene, and that they responded professionally and in accordance to their training in a situation which they could not have reasonably foreseen how the events would have unfolded the way they did. Mayang's death was clearly a domestic violence death. However, it was noted that the true nature and extent of domestic violence suffered by the LGBTQIA+ community remains largely hidden. A report of the Special Task Force on Domestic and Family Violence in Queensland noted that there are particular stresses and factors that are unique for the community. It also noted the lack of awareness of what domestic violence looks like in this particular context, and the Queensland Government's response to the report also acknowledged the particular needs of the LGBTQIA+ community. The task force made a specific reference to Mayang's death, noting that it was a devastating reminder of the existence and reality of domestic violence for LGBTQIA+ people, and the barriers we face as a community in addressing it. It is critical that the wider community continues to seek out, hear, and respond to the voices and experiences of those in our LGBTQIA+ community who experience domestic violence to ensure their stories are not lost. The case officially closed with Marcus's death, leaving many unanswered questions about his motives. Investigators pointed to possible psychological issues and financial stress as contributing factors. The death of Mayang Presetto had a significant cultural impact, sparking discussions about societal perceptions of gender identity, the stigma surrounding sex work, and domestic violence in Australia and beyond. Her tragic story resonated on multiple levels, influencing public dialogue and policy considerations. One thing I do want to mention with this case is how disappointing it was to see the media's initial reporting, or just reporting in general, on this case. Many outlets fixated on Mayang being a transgender sex worker, often framing her in derogatory and dehumanizing ways. This sparked widespread backlash and initiated discussions about ethical report practices, especially when dealing with marginalised victims. Mayang's story became a catalyst for journalists and news outlets to reflect on their responsibilities in representing victims respectfully. Mayang's story also sheds light on the vulnerabilities of immigrants and visa holders in abusive relationships. As someone applying for a partner visa while financially supporting her family in Indonesia, she was in a vulnerable position. This led to discussions about the systematic barriers faced by migrant women in accessing support systems and protections, especially when dealing with domestic violence. Next time on Wine Time Mysteries, Joey delves into the puzzling case of Brian Walsh, a man whose seemingly ordinary life unravels after his wife's sudden disappearance. As investigators dig deeper, unexpected twists and hidden truths come to light, leaving us to question how much we really know about the people closest to us. Stay curious, stay alert, and remember, darkness can lurk behind even the most ordinary appearances, hidden in plain sight and waiting to shatter the illusion of safety when you least expect it. Until next time, stay safe and question everything. Sorry, I have to go.
Why?
My laundry and I have an overdue staring contest to finish.
Well, bye.
An unimaginable. Port suggests. That's 1 moment. 1 moment. Well, what you mean?
What you mean?
Particular. Oh, fuck. Boy.
You can say plausible, but you can't say particularly.
No. Plausible is easy, not particularly. It's the lar. Oh.
I forgot how to spell it.